All right, welcome, my friends. Come in, come one, come all. Sit down, toxic players united. Let's talk about some Dota 2. Let's go. My name is Diseases Jesus. You can call me Dota 2 Jesus, of course, because we're talking about Dota 2 today, and I want to talk about my Dota 2 2023 wish list. The first thing I want to talk about on this list, I'm going to talk about two bigger changes that are going to be absolutely massive and game changing. And then I'm going to talk about some smaller changes, maybe some quality of life stuff, smaller game changes that I would like to see. First thing is just an item idea. I would like an item that changes effect depending on night or day, maybe even something that is defensive at night, offensive at day, or vice versa. I don't want it to be something exclusively used with Night Stalker. I don't want a Night Stalker extension item. I want something that other carries, cores will be able to utilize. Maybe you can make it cheap enough that it can be bought before the first night and hit a real nice power spike in that night if the night side is the offensive side of the item. Maybe flip-flop that and maybe you'll end up buying it in the night and maybe your peak power will be during the day. So there could be a nice mid-game timing with an item like that. I would like to see that. Another smaller, more minor change that I would like to see, I want them to remove Stout Shield passive from Strength Heroes, or is it Melee Heroes? I think it's just Strength Heroes. And I would love that item to come back. I want Stout Shield to come back as an item. It should be purchasable. I'm sick and tired of seeing tanky Strength Heroes. They're taking over lobbies. Like HP is taking over games. I think there needs to be a slight nerf to HP pools and tankiness. I think tankiness has been the name of the game this whole last year. I feel like has been big offlaners popping off. So I'd like to see them maybe rip that out of the meta a little bit. Maybe make the strength heroes a little more humble. And then on top of that, maybe you can create expandable items off of that, upgradable items. I know we used to have a PMS, Poor Man's Shield. That item was OP as heck back in the day. Anyone that had to lane against an anti-mage already knows. Then on top of that, I think that they should make Quelling Blade an upgradable item as well. I've got a few ideas written down here. I think you can make it upgradable with a stat item like Mantle, Slippers, or Gauntlet, or maybe a larger one, or maybe make it toggleable. Make it a crown, 2 crowns, and make it toggleable. But this is supposed to be something that's sub, 800 gold, something you can get pretty early on that's going to give you a nice effect to go with your farming or fighting. So my idea, if you combine it with some sort of strength stat, you will get scaling damage that stacks the more attacks you make up to 4. So stacks, so imagine an Ursa passive at the minute level that you can get early on. Like every attack is going to add 4 damage, or every attack is going to add 6 damage. It's going to stack 4 times. So you can get up to plus 16 damage on a target if you're farming, or plus 20 damage, 24 damage, however they want to balance it. I don't think that's too game changing, and that would help out in the early game for farming and fighting. I think that could be interesting. And now if you do a Quelling Blade with Slippers, maybe you could make it a miniature stacking ability like a Troll Warlord, where every stack is going to give you 8 attack speed, and it's going to stack up to 4 times. But as soon as you switch a target, it's going to reset. Or maybe it doesn't reset at all and it just carries on. Like as soon as if you keep attacking, maybe if you attack a target that Quelling Blade activates on, so if you attack a non-hero target, it gains the buff. So maybe, yeah, so that could be cool because you're in lane, you're hitting the creeps, you're stacking the creeps, and then you jump on the opponent with spells. That could be pretty neat. I do like that. When I think about that, that adds a new layer, new depth to the early game, to the laning, to farming. And I think if you add Mantle, intelligence stat, every tack should give the person like plus 10 mana. That might be too much. I was thinking about that. That might be too much. Maybe plus 8, plus 7 mana every attack. That could be interesting. I would like that, because then that would be, imagine you're a Storm Spirit, you're going to the jungle to press Q on a creep, right? Hit the creep twice, and now your Q is 20 mana cheaper. That's a big deal. That's really cool. I think I would like that. All right, so that's those are a couple smaller ideas, just some item changes, maybe just to create a little bit more gameplay within the game. My bigger changes that I would like to see. This one is pretty cool. I like this one a lot. And this one's going to be a tier 1 aura that works on your home turf globally. So if you're on your side of the river, on your side of the map, it's going to be working. Once a tier 1 is broken on your opponent's side and you are a +1 tower, if you have one more than the opponent, then you get a level 1 scaling aura up to 3 towers, because you could still have your 3 tier 1s and the enemy could be missing all 3 of their tier 1s. And as long as your 3 tier 1s are up, you're going to have a level 3 aura on your side of the map. And it could be stuff like maybe you're giving your team an extra % HP, flat HP, XP bonus, maybe a flat rate gold bonus. I don't know. That would probably be like just ridiculous. That would be ridiculous, because you'd be already winning the game in towers, and then you'd just be getting a flat rate gold bonus. You could just sit back and farm. But that just puts way more objectiveness on defending your towers in the early game, TPing in, creating big battles in the early game, and also creating a meta of pushing and counter pushing. I think that's really exciting. Not only fighting, but playing the game itself, manipulating the game itself. Maybe it would be like a customizable tree of tiers. So like if you're on the tier 1 of the tower aura, because you got one of their tier 1 towers down, it's going to give you a level 1, and maybe it'll give you 3 or so options to choose from. You can get like a global +5 armor, a global +10 attack speed, or a global +3% HP boost. For the second tier, you can choose to upgrade your previous tier, like a 3% to a 6%, or you can create a second instance of an aura where you can get the HP boost, and then you can get the +5 armor, and then on your third tier you can get the +20 attack speed globally. I think that would be really interesting. You could keep stacking the same stack, right? If you just wanted your anti-mage to farm, you're probably just going to be stacking that attack speed over and over and over again. I think that would be really interesting. A nice global aura on your side of the map, maybe even make it on the other, just a global flat. I don't know that, but that's probably just too much, because then you can stay on the offensive and take your auras over to the enemy turf and just absolutely destroy them. I think it should be a rewarding thing for your team for pushing towers. Not just gold, because I feel like you just don't get a lot of gold from towers nowadays. You just don't. All right, and so now my last idea here is another big game-changing one. This is going to add something to the map. It's going to be a second objective that is not Roche, and it's going to be on the opposite side of the map that Roche is not. I think Roche might be fine where it is currently, and then this idea can be implemented on the bottom right river in the map. So my idea here is maybe some sort of small town or a camp of NPCs that, you know, probably sit around a fire or something, or imagine like a tent and a fire, and you got, you know, 3 or 4 NPCs standing around this fire. So what those NPCs do, they're a one-time action use NPC. Stuff like one NPC will re-roll a neutral item. So the first person to bring a neutral item, it will get re-rolled in that category, and then they'll never be able to be used again. Maybe one will purchase, I don't know, maybe one will purchase a neutral item. Maybe if you give him a neutral item, he'll completely delete it from your inventory, but give you 250, 500 gold, give your team, whatever, give your team 250 gold. And all the NPC functions can be first come, first serve to create a battle or an incentive to get there first. Maybe they unlock at, maybe, yeah, right at the neutral item mark. Maybe as soon as the neutral items start coming out, that's when this camp, this NPC camp opens up, and you can do one-time transactions with these NPCs. I don't know. I think that could be interesting. I've tried to think of some other things those NPCs could do. Maybe you can purchase a global buff from an NPC and make it different, you know, depending on what kind of buff your team wants, and maybe that lasts for 2 minutes or something. Would you want to race to get that right away, or would you want to wait? Do you want to take that risk and let the other team get that buff first? I don't know. Maybe maybe you should be able to conscript creeps. So maybe there's a zoo guy there, and I can purchase from him that he'll send some wolves down the lane, like a lichen, right? So like some animals down the lane, or maybe he'll send his golems, or I don't know, whatever. So maybe you can recruit. Maybe there's like a recruiter there, some guy that'll exchange a neutral item for gold. Maybe a guy that'll give you buffs. It could be pretty interesting. It would make a race to the area and using a transaction on one of the people there. And maybe you can make the whole camp go on a cooldown once one of the transactions is used. So if somebody comes up there and uses the neutral item exchange, the opposite team cannot come use the team buff for, let's say, a minute. So there could be a nice race to this strange Dota neutral camp thing idea. Who knows? Those are just some small things I got in my head running through my little Dota brain. So let me know what you think about some of these things in the comments. Let me know if you can expand on any of these ideas. And I swear to God, if this gets implemented in Dota, I'm going to be suing someone.